It was to this group that we introduced the socialist theory of the endless class struggle between the haves and the have-nots. And it was this group that our leader, President Yoweri Museveni, embraced when he launched the Front for the National Salvation for NASA. It came from Uganda Bawegere Association of Kibuli. In April 1964, the UPC top leadership decided to call an overdue annual delegates conference, this time for the sole purpose of removing John Kakonge and his leftist allies, our group, from the position of Secretary General and leadership of the UPC, and to replace him with the rightist and monarchist Gracie Bingira. John Kakonge's group was led by none other than Kirunda, Kiva, Jinja, Bidandi, Sali, and myself. As history had it, the conference was heavily rigged in favor of Obote and Bingira, and our group lost the leadership of the Secretary General of the UPC. And the UPC from then got split beyond repair and has never been the same again. It is now moribund. Following our loss of political power, Ibingira set out to erase Kakonge's influence. And the first victim of this party was Kirunda Kiva Jinja and his other colleagues, who were expelled from the party, to be followed later by Bidandi, Sali, and myself because of what was called our radical views. The rightist unity between Obote and Ibingira did not last, because soon thereafter, Ibingira started nursing plans to overthrow Obote with the support of the Kabaka of Uganda. The leak of this plot led the Obote arresting his 5 ministers, leading to what was called the 1966 crisis, where the Kabaka, who was then the president of Uganda, was overthrown and the traditional leaders eradicated. Meanwhile, for our group to survive, as we contemplated further changes, myself, Kirunda, Kiva, Jinja, Bidandi, Sali, decided to set up what became the very famous Sapoba Bookshop Press Limited. This printing business ensured our personal and political survival. It was under this cover of this business that we carried on silent struggles against Amin until he was overthrown in 1979. Sapoba in Katwe became the converging center of what we are called the progressive forces from all over Uganda, including foreign supervisors. During Amin's time, the late Kirunda Kiva Jinja was able to use the good offices of his cousin, Wanume Kibedi, who was Amin's Minister for Foreign Affairs, to perform the heroic act of saving my life when I was incarcerated in Makinde military prison. While in Makinde prison, I witnessed personally the hacking to death of several Ugandans, including prominent people like Frank Kalimuzo, who was the vice chairman, who was the vice chancellor of Makerere, A.A. Ojera, who had been Obote's Minister for Information and Broadcasting, and Picho Ali, a political activist. We hacked them to death. I didn't do the hacking, but I loaded them on the lorry, and they were thrown into the lake. When Amin expelled the Asians in 1992, Asians in 1972, our Sapoba business prospered so much, so that by the time Amin was overthrown, we were able to set up a newspaper called Weekly Topic. The Weekly Topic became one of the most powerful publications to be produced in Uganda since time immemorial. This helped us to resume our mobilization efforts, which had abandoned when we were expelled from the UPC in the 60s. In the Uganda National Liberation Front, UNF government, which followed Amin's overthrow, Bidandi Sali was appointed Minister for Local Government, which position he used to help enlarge the National Consultative Council of the UNLF. It was this enlarged NSC that Kirunda and I were directly elected to represent our home districts. And it was during our interaction in the ANCC with the colleagues like Yoweri Museveni, Elia Kategaya, and others that the idea of the third force came up. And the party we called the Uganda Patriotic Movement, UPM, was born, led by Yoweri Museveni as chairman, Bidandi Sali as Secretary General, and Kirunda Jinja as Secretary for Finance. At the tail end of the UNF government, I was appointed and served as the Minister for Transport. When the UNF collapsed and was replaced by the rigged Obote II regime, Museveni and other activists rejected the results and launched the 5 years Bush War. This last meeting, the last meeting of the UPM, chaired by Yoweri Museveni, was held at my house in Lunguja. When UPM had lost the elections, we met as leaders of UPM at my house to decide on the future. We arrived at my house at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and sent our cars off so that we were not detected. And we went into meeting and met till 6 o'clock in the morning. Our chairman, the now president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who chaired the meeting, this meeting, I'm telling you now, made no substantive contribution in that meeting, except raising points of order and this and that. In the morning, when I had served them tea and we were leaving, we got into my courtyard, and his car had arrived, and he turned around and said, "Comrades, yes, we have decided this and this and this and this and this. Yes, but what if this fool Obote decides to arrest us?" That was his substantive contribution in all those. What about this fool? I'm using his words. What about if this fool Obote decides to arrest us? Then we muttered each his reaction. Oh, that struggle continues. You know, this normal political rhetoric. We go to prison. Then he said, "Comrades, I will not offer myself for arrest. I will fight him." And he got into his car and drove out. That was the last meeting of UPM, which has never met again. Three weeks later, Yoweri Museveni and his group were in Kabamba. 3 weeks after that meeting, we were in Kabamba. Bidandi Sali was arrested because he was Secretary General of UPM. Kiva Jinja joined Museveni in the bush, while I remained as an urban guerrilla, running our state printing business and using it to recruit fighters and supporting the fighters' families. My best recruit was Kirunda. When he was being hunted by the government, Kirunda was smuggled through Busoga to Kenya, disguised as a sleeping, drunk, turned boy in a truck driven by my brother, Yoram Kintu. In Kenya, he joined the NRM External Committee and played critical roles in raising funds, including soliciting for support from other countries like Libya. He also, with James Musime, launched the Resistance News, which published the news about the Bush War. When the Kenya government collaborated with the Obote government to return Uganda guerrillas back to Uganda, Kirunda headed for Austria, where he had contacts. He carried on NRM work and embarked on compiling his book entitled The Crisis of Confidence, which I recommend for reading. We had discussed the contents of this book before the onset of the war. After the Bush War, when the National Resistance Movement took power, Kiva Jinja was appointed Minister for Rehabilitation and Bidandi Sali Minister for Culture and Sports. For our group in this government, my name was conspicuously missing. During this period, Kiva Jinja was transferred and served on various ministries. He also managed to complete and publish The Crisis of Confidence, which I mentioned above.